Three bright young women, healers by calling, vanished into the unforgiving night, their absence a gaping wound in the heart of their city. 6 months of silence, of whispered fears, and fading hope. Then a choked city artery reveals a horrifying clue. What unspeakable truth lies buried beneath the streets, and who will pay the price for its discovery? If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on our next story. And let us know in the comments what you think of this harrowing tale as it unfolds. The pre-dawn light, thin and gray, did little to dispel the gloom that had become a permanent resident in Evelyn Vance's Oakhaven home. 6 months. 182 days since her daughter, Alara, a vibrant young nurse, had dissolved into the ether along with her two closest friends, Zara Al-Jamil and Mei Lin. Evelyn paced her kitchen, a forgotten cup of tea growing cold, her phone a lifeline clutched in a trembling hand. "I just can't fathom it, Samira." Evelyn sighed into the receiver, her voice raspy with sleeplessness and sorrow. "On top of everything, now the city's plumbing decides to revolt. My shower this morning was just brown sludge." "Tell me about it." Samira Al-Jamil, Zara's mother, replied, her tone heavy with the same chronic weariness. "The entire Northwood district is affected. Anya had to cancel her morning clinic. They can't even sterilize their equipment." Dr. Anya Sharma, May's mother and a respected physician herself, chimed in on the three-way call. "Oakhaven General's administrator called me at 4 a.m. A major blockage in the municipal system, apparently. Public Works has been wrestling with it since last night." The three women, once casual acquaintances united by their daughter's unbreakable bond, were now sisters in grief. Their shared nightmare had forged an intimacy none could have predicted, a lifeline in a sea of despair. Alara, Zara, and May had been inseparable since graduating nursing school and landing coveted positions at Oakhaven General Hospital. Alara, with her meticulous nature, thrived in the demanding world of reconstructive surgery. Zara's compassionate spirit made her a natural in pediatrics, while May's quick thinking and calm under pressure were perfectly suited to the chaotic energy of the emergency room. Different departments, different shifts, but their friendship was a constant. Detective Harding promised he'd call if there was anything at all. Anya reminded them, her voice trying for a strength she didn't feel. "They haven't given up, As if her words had conjured him, Evelyn's phone emitted a sharp buzz, an incoming call overriding their conversation. Her breath hitched. She pulled the phone from her ear, her eyes scanning the caller ID. It's Detective Harding," she announced, her heart hammering against her ribs. "I have to take this. Hold on." With fumbling fingers, she switched calls. "Detective, is there news?" Her voice was a mere whisper. "Mrs. Vance?" Detective Harding's voice, usually a calm baritone, was taut with an unfamiliar urgency. "There's been a significant development. It's connected to this water crisis affecting your neighborhood." Evelyn's legs threatened to buckle. She gripped the edge of the granite countertop, the cold stone, a stark contrast to the sudden heat flushing her skin. "What is it? Have you found them?" The question, unasked for so long, yet always present, tore from her. "I can't discuss details over the phone, Mrs. Vance," Harding replied, his tone grave. "I need you, Mrs. Al-Jamil, and Dr. Sharma to come to a location. It might be related to your daughters." "We're on the phone together right now," Evelyn managed, her voice cracking. "We'll come immediately. Where are you?" "Blackwood Creek Industrial Zone, the main sewer access point. I'll text you the precise coordinates. Please, come as quickly and discreetly as you can." The line went dead. Evelyn, hands shaking violently, switched back to Samira and Anya. "That was Harding. He said there's a development connected to the sewers. He wants us at the Blackwood Creek site." "The sewers?" Samira echoed, bewilderment lacing her fear. "What in God's name could that have to do with our girls?" "I don't know," Evelyn whispered, already grabbing her keys. "But he sounded critical. He's sending the location." "Oh?" "I'm leaving now," Anya stated, her professional composure, a thin veneer over the raw hope and terror Evelyn knew she shared. "I'll meet you there." The call ended. Evelyn stumbled towards her car, her mind a maelstrom of terrifying possibilities. The 20-minute drive to the industrial zone felt like an eternity. Each red light, an agony. Each passing car, a distraction from the singular, horrifying focus that had consumed her. What had they found in the city's dark underbelly? The Blackwood Creek Industrial Zone was a grim, utilitarian landscape of warehouses and forgotten lots. As Evelyn navigated her car through the potholed access road, she saw them. A cluster of police cruisers, their lights painting strobing, anxious patterns on the drab surroundings, and a hulking public works truck. Yellow crime scene tape, stark against the gray morning, cordoned off a large, muddy excavation site where workers in heavy coveralls huddled around an enormous, newly unearthed section of pipe. Evelyn parked, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Samira pulled in beside her, their eyes meeting in a shared glance of profound dread. Anya arrived moments later, her face pale but resolute. Together, they approached the fluttering tape. Detective Harding, a man whose weary eyes seemed to carry the weight of the city's sorrows, spotted them. He was tall, his dark hair showing threads of silver at the temples, a testament to too many long nights and unsolved cases. He lifted the tape, ushering them into the macabre theater. "Thank you for coming so swiftly," he said, his voice low and somber. "There's something you need to see." He led them towards a large, blue tarpaulin laid out on the churned earth. Several forensic officers were meticulously photographing items arranged upon it. As they drew closer, Evelyn's breath caught in her throat, a painful, ragged sound. Spread out on the tarp were 3 sets of medical scrubs. One set a distinctive surgical teal, another a cheerful pediatric blue adorned with cartoon animals, and the third a practical, dark navy. Beside them lay 3 pairs of white nursing clogs. All were caked in a viscous, dark sludge, stained with something that looked chillingly like dried blood, yet they were undeniably the uniforms of Oakhaven General. "Oh my God!" Samira choked out, her hand flying to her mouth, stifling a sob. Harding gestured to a burly sewer maintenance worker, his face grim beneath a layer of grime. "Mr. Henderson here and his team were clearing the blockage. That's when they found these." Henderson nodded, his expression one of disturbed disbelief. 25 years on this job, ma'am? Never seen the like. Uniforms, all bundled up tight with what looks like surgical tape and some kind of heavy-gauge wire. Made a solid ball. Wedged right in the main junction, backed everything up clear to the hospital district. Harding turned back to the mothers, his gaze compassionate but unwavering. "We need you to look closely. Can you identify these items? Could they belong to Alara, Zara, and May?" Evelyn felt as though she were moving through water. Her legs were leaden, her heart a cold stone in her chest. She knelt beside the teal scrubs, the color Ilara always wore in surgery. The size seemed right. And there, almost obscured by mud on the collar, was a tiny silver pin, a caduceus intertwined with a scalpel, a gift Evelyn had given Ilara upon her graduation. This is Ilara's," she confirmed, her voice barely audible. "The teal and her pin." Samira, tears streaming silently down her face, pointed to the blue scrubs. "Zara's. Pediatrics wears the animal print, and she sewed a little ladybug patch on the pocket herself." Her finger hovered over a dark lump of fabric where the patch should be. "It's hers." Anya, ever the clinician, examined the Navy uniform with a painful precision. "ER staff wear Navy. This is May's size. And these shoes?" She indicated a pair of clogs. She had special orthotic insoles because of the long hours on her feet. "You can see the outline." Harding gave a curt nod to a forensic technician who was setting up equipment nearby. "We're running preliminary DNA analysis on site. If you can wait, we should have initial confirmation shortly." They were led to a police car, the wait an exquisite torture. Each minute stretched into an aeon. Evelyn stared at the unearthed pipe, a monstrous maw that had disgorged this nightmare. Finally, Harding approached, his expression unreadable, yet somehow they already knew. "The preliminary tests are conclusive," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "DNA from all 3 uniforms matches the samples you provided when your daughters went missing." He paused, letting the terrible weight of his words sink in. "Given the condition of the fabric, the relative lack of color fading, we don't believe they've been in the sewer system for the full 6 months. This is a recent disposal." "Recent?" Anya echoed, her medical mind racing. "What does that mean?" "It means," Harding said, his eyes hardening, "that someone deliberately got rid of these uniforms very recently. The way they were bound with wire, they wanted them to cause a blockage, or at least sink and stay hidden. This was no accident." Are our daughters? Samira couldn't voice the ultimate fear. We have no evidence of that, Mrs. Al-Jamil, Harding assured her quickly. What we have is our first tangible lead in half a year. Someone had these uniforms. Someone tried to dispose of them. And that someone might still know what happened to Alara, Zara, and May. As the forensic team meticulously bagged the mud-caked uniforms, a sleek silver Aston Martin pulled up to the periphery of the crime scene. Evelyn watched, a numb detachment settling over her, as a man in his early 40s, impeccably dressed in expensive casual wear beneath a tailored sports coat, emerged. His posture was rigid, his expression one of curated concern as he surveyed the police activity. "Dr. Finch," Detective Harding called out, a note of surprise in his voice. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Dr. Alistair Finch, the renowned, charismatic head of reconstructive surgery at Oakhaven General, Alara's direct supervisor. He had attended a few of the initial search meetings, offering polished condolences and vague assurances, then had faded from their efforts as the weeks bled into months. Finch approached, offering Harding a firm handshake, his eyes flicking briefly, sympathetically, towards the three mothers. "Detective, I was just finishing my night rotation and driving home when I saw the commotion. Is everything all right? I noticed the public works vehicle and became concerned for the hospital's systems." Harding concisely explained the discovery of the nurses' uniforms. Finch's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "Good heavens! I heard about the water issues at the hospital this morning. Several elective surgeries were nearly postponed." His gaze drifted to the evidence bags being carefully loaded into a police van. "So those are their uniforms?" "Yes," Evelyn found herself saying, her voice stronger than she expected, her eyes fixed on Finch's reaction. "Alara's teal ones. From your department." A flicker, so brief it was almost imperceptible, crossed Finch's handsome face. Concern? Or something else? Something deeper, more hidden? "Nurse Vance was exceptional," he said quietly, his voice smooth as silk. "A truly gifted assistant. Her attention to detail in the OR was second to none." He turned back to Harding. "Does this change the nature of the investigation?" "We're escalating this from a missing persons case to a potential criminal investigation, Doctor," Harding stated. "We'll be reviewing CCTV from businesses near sewer access points, re-interviewing hospital staff." Finch nodded thoughtfully. "A logical step, though I primarily work nights at Oakhaven now. My private practice, Finch Cosmetics and Rejuvenation, takes up most of my days." He glanced at an expensive-looking watch. "In fact, I just finished my shift and have patients scheduled this afternoon." Harding pulled out a small notebook. "We'll need to speak with you again, Dr. Finch, as part of our follow-ups, at the hospital or perhaps your clinic." "Either works," Finch replied, producing a sleek business card. "My clinic details. Perhaps a separate appointment would be best. My patient schedule is rather demanding." Just then, a news van screeched to a halt nearby, reporters and camera crew spilling out. Finch's demeanor shifted instantly. His shoulders tensed, his eyes darted towards the media, then back to his watch with a newfound urgency. "I really must be going," he said, taking a half step back. "I need to rest before my afternoon consultations. Please, keep me informed. I've sorely missed Nurse Vance's skill in my operating room." He offered a curt nod to Harding and retreated swiftly to his Aston Martin, adjusting his jacket. Evelyn watched him, a strange unease coiling in her stomach. His sudden anxiety at the media's arrival, his haste to depart, it felt off. While Anya and Samira braced themselves for the inevitable questions from the press, Evelyn found herself moving, almost involuntarily, after the doctor. "Dr. Finch, wait!" she called, catching him as he reached his car. He turned, a mask of polite surprise settling on his features. "Mrs. Vance, is there something else?" "We haven't spoken in months, Doctor," she said, searching his face for any crack in his composure. "How have you been?" "Busy," he replied, his hand resting on the car door. "Establishing the new clinic has been demanding, but rewarding." A faint, sad smile touched his lips. "I often wish Alara were here. We discussed my plans for the clinic extensively. She was quite excited about the prospect of joining me once it was established. No one matched her skill in post-operative care, particularly for complex facial reconstructions." "I didn't realize your clinic was fully operational," Evelyn said, filing the information away. Indeed, my own dedicated space for consultations. Most major procedures still occur at Oakhaven, of course. My clinic isn't yet equipped for the full spectrum of surgeries I perform. Before Evelyn could press further, Anya and Samira joined them, having evidently decided to evade the reporters. Dr. Finch, Anya said, her tone professionally neutral. I actually have a patient I was considering referring to your clinic. Complex scar revision. Perhaps I could schedule a time to discuss the case. Recognition flickered in Finch's eyes. Ah, Dr. Sharma. Yes, I believe my receptionist mentioned your inquiry. You're scheduled for 2 p.m. this afternoon, correct? That's right, Anya confirmed. Finch maintained his polite smile, but Evelyn noticed the restless tapping of his fingers against the polished car door. My apologies, but I truly must get some rest. It was a long night. I'll see you this afternoon, Dr. Sharma. He nodded to them collectively and slid into his car, the engine purring to life. As he drove away, Evelyn turned to Anya. His clinic, where is it exactly? Anya looked surprised. Maple Avenue, near the Oak Street intersection. It opened around the same time our daughters disappeared. I'm surprised you didn't know, Evelyn. Evelyn shook her head. With everything, I haven't been noticing much beyond this nightmare. She paused. Did he seem odd to you just now? Tired, perhaps, Samira offered. Night shifts are brutal. Maybe, Evelyn murmured, unconvinced. A reporter finally cornered them, and Evelyn reluctantly gave a brief, tearful statement, clinging to the hope that this discovery, however grim, was a step towards answers. Later, driving home, replaying Finch's every word, every micro-expression, Evelyn passed the Maple and Oak intersection. There, on the corner, stood a striking modern building, Finch Cosmetics and Rejuvenation. The parking lot was nearly empty, save for one silver Aston Martin. He'd said he was going home to rest. Through the large, tinted front windows, Evelyn could just make out two silhouettes. Dr. Finch, his posture agitated, was gesturing emphatically at another man, taller, broader. At one point, Finch reached out, and the other man violently swatted his hand away, his stance aggressive. A horn blared behind her. The light was green. Shaken, Evelyn drove on, the disturbing tableau burning in her mind. What had she just witnessed? The cloying scent of stale coffee and sleepless nights permeated Evelyn's kitchen. After the morning's emotional onslaught, she'd retreated home, the image of Alara's mud-stained scrubs a recurring torment. She was staring blankly at her laptop screen when an email notification chimed. It was from Detective Harding. Her heart leaped. Mrs. Vance, it began. A significant development. Our forensics team recovered partial fingerprints from the steel wire used to bind the nurse's scrubs. We've run them through APHIS and have a positive match. Silas Shadow Thorne, a known associate of several organized crime syndicates with a prior conviction for armed robbery and aggravated assault. Multiple outstanding warrants. We are treating him as a primary person of interest and are attempting to locate him. I will keep you informed. Silas Thorne, a name, a face to attach to the dread. Evelyn quickly typed the name into a search engine. News articles about a violent jewelry store heist 3 years prior appeared, along with a grainy mugshot. A man in his late 30s, his face a roadmap of hard living, a distinctive jagged scar bisecting his left eyebrow, eyes like chips of ice. She studied the image, trying to place him. Could this be the man she'd seen arguing so vehemently with Dr. Finch through the clinic window? She hadn't gotten a clear look and hadn't noticed a scar, but the height and build seemed similar. But why would a respected surgeon like Alistair Finch be associating with a violent criminal? It seemed utterly preposterous. No, it couldn't be, she muttered, reaching for her phone to call Samira. Did you get Harding's email? Evelyn asked as soon as Samira answered. Yes, Samira replied, her voice tight with a new layer of fear. This Silas Thorne, Evelyn. I've been thinking, something Zara told me just days before she vanished. What was it? Evelyn urged, sitting bolt upright. She said she felt like someone was following her. She'd caught glimpses of a man. She said he had a really noticeable scar over one eye, several times near the hospital, and even around her apartment building on Hemlock Lane. That's why she started staying over at May's more often. She felt safer. Evelyn's breath hitched. A scar. Hemlock Lane. Did Zara ever describe him further? Tattoos? Anything? She just mentioned the scar, said he looked rough. And Hemlock Lane. I remember she said she saw him near that derelict old car wash at the end of the street a couple of times when she was driving to her evening shift. The old car wash on Hemlock Lane. Evelyn's mind raced. When she'd seen Finch arguing with the man at his clinic, she hadn't seen how the other man had arrived or departed. But Hemlock Lane wasn't far from Finch's clinic. And if Silas Thorne was involved, and Finch was seen with a man fitting a general description— Samira, today, after I left the sewer site, Evelyn began, recounting her observation of Dr. Finch at his clinic, the argument with the unknown man. I didn't see his face clearly, but the build, and now you mention a scar and Hemlock Lane. You think Finch is connected to this? Silas? Samira sounded incredulous. Alistair Finch is one of the most respected surgeons in the state. Why would he be involved with someone like that? I don't know, Evelyn admitted. Maybe it's nothing. A coincidence. But the timing. The uniforms show up. Finch is suddenly at the scene, then he's caught in a heated argument at his clinic after saying he was going home to rest. Her voice trailed off. It sounded paranoid, even to her own ears. We should tell Harding what you saw, Evelyn, and what Zara told me, Samira urged. I will. But I need to be sure. I don't want to accuse an innocent man, however, unsettling his behavior. She hesitated. By the way, did you know Anya has an appointment with Dr. Finch this afternoon at his clinic? The one she mentioned to him? Yes, she said something about a patient referral. She still planned on going, to keep up appearances, she said. I think I might go with her, Evelyn decided suddenly, just to see the clinic. Observe. Evelyn, please be careful, Samira said, her voice laced with concern. You're starting to sound obsessed. Dr. Finch worked with Alara. He seemed genuinely distressed at the start. I know. Maybe I'm grasping at straws because we're so desperate, but something about him this morning, Samira, it just felt profoundly wrong. After ending the call, Evelyn dialed Anya, relaying Harding's email and her conversation with Samira, carefully omitting her own growing, wild suspicions about Finch himself, focusing instead on Silas Thorne. A man with a scar, Anya mused. May never mentioned anyone following her, but she was always fiercely independent, wouldn't have wanted to worry me. Anya, about your appointment with Dr. Finch, would you mind if I tagged along, just for support? I don't want to be alone right now. Of course not, Evelyn, Anya replied warmly. Truthfully, after this morning, I'm not sure I'm up to facing him alone either, even professionally. We can go together. I'll wait in the reception while you have your consultation, and then we can process. Thank you, Anya. And did Finch seem at all strange to you this morning? There was a pause. Surgeons, Evelyn, especially of his caliber, operate under immense pressure. He was likely tired, stressed by the hospital disruption. The man you saw him with could have been a difficult supplier, a demanding patient relative, any number of things. We mustn't jump to conclusions based on grief and fear. You're probably right, Evelyn conceded, though a knot of unease remained. What time is your appointment? I'll pick you up. 2:00, and Evelyn, try to let Detective Harding handle Silas Thorne. He has a solid lead now. As the hours crawled by, Evelyn found little more on Silas Thorne beyond his rap sheet. The image of Finch, his polished veneer, juxtaposed with the brutal face of the criminal, warred in her mind. It was a connection that defied logic, yet her intuition screamed otherwise. Evelyn picked up Anya from her Northwood home, the atmosphere in the car thick with unspoken anxieties. They drove towards Finch Cosmetics and Rejuvenation, the sleek, modern building now seeming less a symbol of healing and more one of opaque mystery to Evelyn. The parking lot held several expensive vehicles, a stark contrast to the near emptiness Evelyn had witnessed that morning. As they entered the opulent reception area, all brushed chrome, muted tones, and abstract art, a young woman with an unnervingly perfect smile greeted them from behind a vast, curved marble desk. "Good afternoon, may I help you?" Dr. Anya Sharma. For a 2:00 consultation with Dr. Finch, Anya announced, her professional demeanor firmly in place. The receptionist tapped at her computer, her smile faltering slightly. "Oh, Dr. Sharma, I am so terribly sorry. Dr. Finch had an unforeseen medical emergency arise. He's had to cancel all his afternoon appointments. We've been trying to contact everyone, but a few calls must have gone to voicemail. An emergency? Anya repeated, exchanging a quick, uneasy glance with Evelyn. Is Dr. Finch all right? Is it at Oak Haven General? I wasn't given the specific details, Doctor, the receptionist replied smoothly. Just instructed to reschedule. He's not at Oak Haven as far as I know. I can rebook you for tomorrow, or perhaps early next week. Evelyn, meanwhile, had drifted towards the large window overlooking the parking lot. Her breath caught. Anya, his car is still here. She pointed to the silver Aston Martin gleaming in its reserved spot. If he had an emergency, why hasn't he left? The receptionist hesitated, her composure slipping a fraction. Dr. Finch is still in his office. He said he would be departing shortly, but asked not to be disturbed. Anya and Evelyn exchanged another loaded look. This was becoming increasingly peculiar. They thanked the receptionist and stepped back out into the bright afternoon sun, the clinic's cool, artificial atmosphere clinging to them. As they walked towards Evelyn's car, they passed Dr. Finch's Aston Martin. Evelyn slowed, her gaze snagged by something in the back seat. Through the tinted window, she could discern a jumble of items, what looked like an oxygen tank, several electronic devices with trailing wires, and most alarmingly, a folded portable gurney. Anya, look at this, Evelyn whispered, her voice tight, gesturing discreetly. Why would he have all this in his personal vehicle? Doesn't a clinic of this sophistication have dedicated medical transport if needed? Anya peered through the window, her brow furrowing. That is highly unusual. Most practices would use an ambulance service or have specifically equipped vehicles for patient transport, especially for something as bulky as a gurney. And that equipment, it's more suited for critical care transport than routine clinic work. Oh? Something is very wrong here, Evelyn said, a cold dread seeping into her bones. First the argument this morning, now canceling appointments, but still being here, and all this gear. Evelyn, Anya said gently, though her own eyes held a new flicker of concern. We might be over-interpreting. He's a surgeon. Perhaps he's preparing for a complex off-site consultation or transporting specialized equipment for a procedure at a smaller facility that lacks it. There could be a dozen rational explanations. They reached Evelyn's car. Instead of starting the engine, Evelyn sat, her gaze fixed on the clinic. Should we wait? See what he does? Where he goes? Evelyn, that's bordering on harassment, Anya cautioned, though her voice lacked its earlier conviction. Let's go to Samira's. We can call Detective Harding from there, share our concerns about the equipment. It's better than speculating wildly out here. Evelyn was about to agree, to dismiss her gnawing intuition as grief-fueled paranoia when she saw movement. Dr. Finch emerged from the clinic's side entrance, moving with a hurried, almost furtive air, carrying a small, heavy-looking medical case. He practically sprinted to his Aston Martin. Look, Evelyn hissed. He's leaving now. They watched as Finch threw the case into his car, jumped in, and reversed sharply. He pulled up to the intersection beside them, momentarily boxed in by traffic. From their vantage point, they had a clear view of him. He was on his phone, his face a mask of controlled panic, his free hand gesticulating wildly. They could see his lips moving, his expression shifting from anger to something that looked like desperate pleading. At one point, he slammed his palm against the steering wheel in visible frustration. Through his partially open window, Evelyn thought she heard a muffled, anguished word. Dangerous. Then, just as quickly, his expression smoothed, though the tension in his jaw remained. He stared straight ahead, oblivious to their scrutiny. The light changed. Finch's car shot forward, weaving expertly through the afternoon traffic. Behind them, a horn blared. Startled, Evelyn drove through the intersection. Without a conscious decision, compelled by a force she couldn't name, she found herself following the silver Aston Martin. Evelyn, what are you doing? Anya cried, her voice sharp with alarm. That wasn't normal, Anya, Evelyn retorted, keeping Finch's car in sight. His face, that call, did any of that seem normal to you? We are not tailing a respected surgeon like characters in a cheap thriller, Anya protested. The receptionist said it was an emergency. He's obviously upset. This is irrational, Evelyn. We should go to Samira's, call Harding. Evelyn was wavering, Anya's logic chipping away at her conviction, when she saw Finch's car make an abrupt, unsignaled turn onto Hemlock Lane, the desolate road with the derelict car wash, the road Zara had mentioned, the road where a man with a scar had been seen. "Anya," Evelyn said, her voice barely a whisper, her knuckles white on the steering wheel as she eased off the accelerator near the Hemlock Lane intersection. "That's not the way to Oakhaven General. If he had a genuine medical emergency, a critical patient transfer, wouldn't he be heading there? It's the only Level 1 trauma center in the county." Anya, her face pale, quickly pulled out her phone, fingers flying across a map application. After a tense moment, she looked up, her eyes wide with dawning horror. "You're right, Evelyn. There's nothing down that road. No hospital, no clinic, not even any significant residential areas. It's mostly abandoned industrial lots and undeveloped land." That was all the confirmation Evelyn needed. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of fear and a strange, terrifying vindication. She swung the car onto Hemlock Lane, maintaining a careful distance behind the rapidly disappearing Aston Martin. Neither woman spoke. The familiar cityscape of Oakhaven receded, replaced by a landscape of urban decay, boarded-up warehouses, graffiti-scarred walls, and overgrown lots littered with debris. The road itself deteriorated, potholes jarring the car. The air grew heavy, tinged with the scent of damp earth and neglect. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably no more than 15 minutes, they saw Finch's car slow and turn into a weed-choked driveway. Ahead, barely visible through a tangle of skeletal trees, loomed a large, dilapidated building. A weathered tilting sign, half obscured by ivy, read, "Willow Creek Sanitarium, Est 1928. Evelyn quickly pulled her car into the overgrown entrance of what looked like an abandoned gas station across the road, partially concealing them behind a rusted, skeletal sign. From this vantage point, they could observe Finch's movements. And there, parked near the sanitarium's crumbling portico, almost hidden in the shadows, was a sleek, black sports motorcycle. The same type, Evelyn felt sure, that the man arguing with Finch earlier might have ridden. That's the bike," Evelyn breathed, a chill snaking down her spine. "The man at Finch's clinic. It has to be him. Silas Thorne." They watched, hearts pounding, as Dr. Finch began unloading the medical equipment from his Aston Martin, the oxygen tank, the monitors, the folded gurney, making repeated, hurried trips into the decaying sanitarium. The building's windows were mostly boarded up or broken, dark voids staring out like empty eye sockets. Its once grand facade was crumbling, paint peeling like sunburnt skin. Why would Alistair Finch be performing any kind of procedure, emergency or otherwise, in a derelict place like this? Anya whispered, her professional skepticism finally, irrevocably, morphing into outright alarm. And who? Who could possibly be the patient? "Maybe the man from this morning?" Evelyn whispered back, her mind racing. "Silas Thorne. Maybe he's injured. Maybe Finch is being forced." Anya was already dialing, her fingers surprisingly steady. "I'm calling Detective Harding. Now, this is beyond suspicious. It's terrifying." As Anya tersely relayed their location and observations to Harding, emphasizing the presence of Finch, the motorcycle, the medical equipment, and the abandoned sanitarium, Evelyn fumbled for her own phone. With trembling hands, she activated the video camera, zooming in as best she could on Finch hauling the last of the equipment inside. She sent the short, shaky video clip to Harding's number, then to Samira, along with a text pinpointing their location. Samira responded almost instantly with a frantic call. "Evelyn, that motorcycle, what make is it?" Zara described a very specific, high-end black sports bike. She said it was distinctive. Evelyn, her mind awhirl, quickly described the bike to Samira, who confirmed it matched Zara's description. "That's it. That's the bike she saw following her." "Oh God, Evelyn, I dismissed it as her being overly anxious." Anya ended her call with Harding, her face grim. "He's dispatching units immediately. Armed response. He said to stay in the car, lock the doors, and do not, under any circumstances, approach that building." He sounded like he already suspected something, Evelyn. Like our call confirmed a terrible theory. They sat in silence, the oppressive atmosphere of Willow Creek Sanitarium pressing in on them. Every rustle of leaves, every distant siren that wasn't for them, stretched their nerves taut. The minutes crawled by, each one an agony of suspense. Evelyn's phone showed only 15 minutes had passed since Anya's call, but it felt like a lifetime. Then, a sound that cut through the eerie quiet, the distinct, rapidly approaching wail of multiple sirens. Evelyn and Anya exchanged a look of profound, terrified relief. 3, then 4. Police cruisers, lights blazing, roared down Hemlock Lane, followed by a heavily armored tactical van. They converged on the Willow Creek Sanitarium with practiced, lethal precision, officers deploying, taking up strategic positions, weapons drawn. Detective Harding emerged from the lead cruiser, his face a grim, determined mask. He spotted Evelyn's car and jogged over, his expression unreadable. "Are you both all right?" he demanded as they practically fell out of the car, their legs shaky. "We're fine, Detective," Evelyn assured him, her voice trembling. We followed Dr. Finch. When he came here, we knew something was terribly wrong." "You did the right thing," Harding said, his gaze fixed on the ominous sanitarium. "We've been looking into Dr. Finch since this morning's discovery. After your initial statements, we ran a check on his hospital access logs for the past 6 months. Irregularities. His badge was used to access restricted areas, pharmacy dispensaries. At times, he wasn't even scheduled to be in the hospital. Your call just cemented our worst fears." "You suspected him?" Anya asked, incredulous. "Alistair Finch?" "I couldn't voice it without concrete evidence, Dr. Sharma," Harding explained, his jaw tight. "He's a pillar of this community. Accusations without solid proof would have been problematic." A sudden commotion from the sanitarium drew their attention. Officers were advancing, a battering ram poised. Through a loudspeaker, a commanding voice ordered the occupants to come out, hands visible. "I need you both to stay back here," Harding instructed firmly. "This is an active and potentially dangerous police operation." He turned and sprinted back to join his team, leaving Evelyn and Anya to watch, hearts lodged in their throats as the nightmare began to unfold. The tense standoff at the Willow Creek Sanitarium felt like an eternity compressed into minutes. The amplified voice of a police negotiator echoed eerily around the decaying structure, sharp commands cutting through the unnatural stillness. Evelyn and Anya clung to each other, their breath held captive in their chests, every muscle coiled tight with unbearable suspense. Then, the main door of the sanitarium creaked open. Dr. Alistair Finch emerged first, his hands raised high above his head. The immaculate, confident surgeon they knew was gone. His expensive clothes were rumpled, his usually perfect dark hair disheveled, and his face was a mask of pale, resigned terror. Behind him, prodded by an officer already inside, came a second man, taller, broader, with a wiry strength that radiated menace even in surrender. His face was hard, impassive, but Evelyn's eyes were drawn to the jagged, faded scar bisecting his left eyebrow, Silas Shadow Thorne. He too raised his hands, a flicker of something unreadable, defiance, relief, in his cold eyes. Officers swarmed them, expertly cuffing both men, separating them, leading them towards different police vehicles. Detective Harding spoke intensely to Dr. Finch for a moment, his words inaudible from across the road, before Finch was bundled into a cruiser. Then, the moment that shattered Evelyn's world and rebuilt it in a single cataclysmic instant, more figures emerged from the sanitarium's dark maw. Not officers this time. Paramedics, carefully guiding 3 frail, unsteady forms out into the harsh daylight. 3 women. Even from this distance, even through the haze of disbelief and the months of anguished imagining, Evelyn knew, Anya knew. They recognized the slight frames, the way they moved, the color of their hair, though it was matted and dull. "Oh my God!" Evelyn gasped, a sound torn from the very depths of her soul, clutching Anya's arm with bruising force. "It's them! It's our girls!" They ran. Across the road, heedless of their own safety, ignoring a startled officer's shout to stay back. Alara, Zara, May. They were being gently assisted towards waiting ambulances that had silently arrived. They were shockingly thin, their faces gaunt, cheekbones sharp beneath pale, almost translucent skin. Their eyes, usually so bright, were hollow, haunted, yet alive. "Alara!" Evelyn cried, stumbling towards her daughter, reaching out a trembling hand. Alara's head turned slowly. Her eyes, unfocused at first, gradually registered recognition. A tiny, flickering light. "Mom?" Ilara whispered, her voice a dry, cracked rasp, barely audible. It was the most beautiful sound Evelyn had ever heard. A paramedic gently intervened, his voice kind but firm. "Ma'am, please, we need to get them to Oakhaven General immediately. They're severely dehydrated, malnourished. They need urgent medical attention." Detective Harding appeared at Evelyn's side, his grim face softened by a profound relief. "They're alive, Mrs. Vance, Dr. Sharma. All three of them. We're taking them to Oakhaven right now." How did you find them so quickly inside?" Anya asked, tears streaming down her face as she watched May being carefully loaded into an ambulance, Samira already by Zara's side, having arrived in a frantic dash after Evelyn's text. "Once we breached the building, it wasn't difficult," Harding explained, his voice tight with emotion. "They were being held in a sealed-off wing, what used to be the old isolation ward. Thorne didn't put up a fight when he realized the game was up." Evelyn, hands shaking uncontrollably, fumbled for her phone, tears blurring her vision as she speed-dialed Samira, who was already at the scene. "Samira, they found them. They're alive. We're at the old Willow Creek place, but they're taking the girls to Oakhaven. Meet us there." Samira's shriek of joyous disbelief was audible even to Harding, who nodded, a rare smile touching his lips. "You can follow the ambulances to the hospital. I'll meet you there as soon as we've secured this scene and processed Finch and Thorne." As they hurried back to Evelyn's car, forensic teams were already swarming the abandoned sanitarium, their white suits stark against the decaying backdrop. The drive to Oakhaven General was a blur of flashing lights, wailing sirens, and prayers, whispered through tears of overwhelming relief. 6 months of agonizing, soul-crushing uncertainty had ended. Their daughters were alive. Battered, traumatized, but alive. The emergency department at Oakhaven was a hive of controlled chaos, already prepped for their arrival. Medical teams met the ambulances, whisking the 3 young women away for immediate assessment and treatment. Evelyn, Anya, and Samira were ushered into a private waiting room, their emotions a maelstrom of joy, terror, and a desperate need for answers. Hours later, a weary but resolute Detective Harding joined them. "They're being stabilized," he informed them, his voice filled with a quiet satisfaction. "The doctors say it's a miracle they survived. They'll recover, physically, it will take time, and a great deal of care." "Can we see them?" Samira pleaded, voicing the question in all their hearts. "Soon," Harding promised. "Very soon. But first, you need to know what happened, why Dr. Finch took them." He gestured to the chairs. "Please, sit down. It's a complicated and disturbing story." Once they were seated, Harding began. "From our initial interrogation of Finch, who, by the way, is cooperating, trying to save his own skin, and Thorne, here's what we've pieced together. Dr. Finch hired Silas Thorne, through a shadowy intermediary, to eliminate your daughters." A collective gasp escaped the mothers. "Eliminate?" Evelyn whispered, horrified. "But why?" "That's where Thorne's story diverges from Finch's intent," Harding continued, his face grim. "Thorne was supposed to make them disappear permanently, but for reasons of his own, perhaps a flicker of conscience, or more likely, seeing an opportunity, he didn't kill them. Instead, he held them captive here, in this abandoned sanitarium, which incidentally, we've learned was previously owned by Dr. Finch's late father before it closed down decades ago." "So they've been there all this time?" Anya breathed, her medical mind struggling to comprehend the conditions they must have endured. Harding nodded solemnly. "In a locked, barricaded section of the old building. Kept alive, just barely. Thorne fed them enough to survive, but their conditions were appalling." "But why would Thorne keep them alive, if he was hired to kill them?" Evelyn pressed. "Leverage," Harding stated bluntly. "Silas Thorne, as you know, is a wanted man. He has a distinctive scar. He believed his only way to evade capture indefinitely was a new face. He demanded that Dr. Finch perform extensive illegal facial reconstruction surgery on him. Here, in this makeshift OR, Finch was setting up when you saw him. He was using your daughters as collateral to force Finch's hand." "And Finch? He was stalling?" Anya surmised, the pieces clicking into place. "Exactly. Harding confirmed. Finch was terrified. Performing such a surgery outside a sterile hospital environment on a known felon was a career-ending, life-destroying risk. He kept making excuses. Lack of proper equipment, anesthetics, the risk of infection. According to Thorne, Finch told him, "I wouldn't risk my entire life's work for a thug like you." "So, the uniforms in the sewer," Evelyn began. "That was Thorne sending Finch a message," Harding explained. "He was furious at being strung along. He took the nurses' uniforms from where he'd stored them, bundled them with wire and surgical tape he found in Finch's supplies, and flushed them down an industrial toilet in the sanitarium, which connects to the Blackwood Creek main line. He wanted to pressure Finch, to threaten exposure, to force him to do the surgery. He never imagined it would lead us right to them." A nurse appeared at the doorway. "Detective? One of the patients, Ilara Vance, is asking to speak with you. She says it's urgent." Evelyn's heart leaped. "Can I come?" she pleaded with Harding. He nodded, a flicker of understanding in his weary eyes. They found Ilara in a private room, IV lines snaking into her thin arms, monitors beeping a steady, reassuring rhythm. Despite her shocking frailty, her eyes, clear and intelligent, held a spark of their old fire. "Mom," she whispered as Evelyn rushed to her side, gently embracing her. Tears streamed down Evelyn's face, tears of profound relief and unbearable sorrow for what her daughter had endured. After a moment, Ilara turned her gaze to Detective Harding. "You need to know why," she said, her voice weak but resolute. "Why Dr. Finch wanted us gone." She took a shaky breath. "Dr. Finch, he was committing massive insurance fraud, falsifying patient records, billing for procedures never performed, even being inappropriate with heavily sedated female patients during cosmetic surgeries." Her face tightened with disgust and remembered fear. "I started noticing discrepancies in the billing about 7-8 months ago, things that just didn't add up. Overcharges, phantom surgeries." "Did you confront him?" Harding asked gently. Ilara shook her head. "Not directly. I was scared of losing my job, of his power. I talked to Zara and May. We decided to gather concrete evidence to build a case before going to the hospital administration or the medical board." "So you were investigating him?" Evelyn realized, her hand tightening on Ilara's. "We were careful," Ilara whispered, her eyes clouding. "Or so we thought. But he must have found out. One night, after our shifts, we were walking to our cars in the hospital garage. A dark van. It pulled up fast. Someone grabbed us from behind, something over our faces, then nothing until we woke up. There." Harding nodded, his expression grim. "That fits. Finch couldn't risk his reputation, his career, his entire empire being destroyed. So he hired Thorne." "Are Zara and May? Are they okay?" Ilara asked, anxiety flickering in her eyes. "They're being treated, sweetheart," Evelyn assured her. "They're going to be all right, just like you." Later, after the initial medical assessments and emotional reunions, Detective Harding provided more details. Dr. Finch's private practice, Finch Cosmetics and Rejuvenation, was a financial black hole. He'd taken out enormous, unsustainable loans to create that opulent facade. The fraudulent billing, the kickbacks from suppliers he was coercing, it was all to keep himself from drowning in debt. Your daughter's investigation, Ilara, threatened to expose everything. "Aye? There's more," Harding continued, his voice hardening. "Our search of his office at Oakhaven and his private clinic has uncovered years of illicit activity, evidence of prescription drug theft for personal use and black market sales, multiple credible allegations of sexual misconduct with sedated patients that were previously dismissed or covered up, and a pattern of bullying and intimidation to silence anyone who questioned him. He was a monster hiding in plain sight, protected by his reputation and wealth. Silas Thorne, it turned out, was cooperating fully, hoping for leniency. He described how Finch, after the abduction, had become increasingly erratic, terrified of Thorne, yet too cowardly to go to the police himself. Thorne, for his part, had developed a twisted sort of protectiveness over his captives, realizing they were his only leverage. He hadn't been overtly cruel, providing basic food and water, even sneaking in antibiotics from Finch's supplies when May developed a severe infection. He said he wasn't a killer of women, Harding relayed, just a desperate man in a desperate situation of Finch's making. The following days were a blur of medical care, tearful reunions, and the slow, painful process of psychological debriefing. The three young nurses, moved to a secure wing at Oakhaven General, began their long journey to recovery, their bond, forged in friendship and tempered by terror, now unbreakable. The community rallied around them, a testament to the light they had brought into so many lives. Dr. Alistair Finch was formally charged with a litany of felonies: multiple counts of kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, aggravated assault, insurance fraud, medical malpractice, and illegal possession and distribution of controlled substances. His carefully constructed world had shattered, his name forever synonymous with betrayal and depravity. Weeks later, Alara, Zara, and May, though still bearing the physical and emotional scars of their ordeal, were finally discharged from the hospital. Evelyn, Samira, and Anya watched them walk out into the sunshine, a little unsteady but resolute, their spirits uncrushed. "He thought our lives were worth less than his reputation," Kiara said one afternoon, her voice quiet but strong, as the three nurses sat with their mothers in Evelyn's sunlit garden. He was wrong. The path to healing would be long, arduous, but they were survivors, and in the unbreakable solidarity of their friendship and the unwavering love of their mothers, they found the strength to face each new day, not as victims, but as warriors who had stared into the abyss and walked away, ready to reclaim the lives that had so nearly been stolen. The city of Oakhaven, once shrouded in the darkness of their disappearance, now celebrated their miraculous return, a beacon of hope against the shadows.